Hi there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford.
And Christian Weatherford.
And this is Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast, where we rate your favorite animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics.
We're not zoological experts, but we try our best to bring the best and most accurate information that we can.
And you're all welcome. I've done you all a great service at tremendous cost to me as I have paused Pokopia in order to record this episode this week, which was through tremendous effort. I was able to tear myself away from Pokopia for the time necessary to record, edit, and post this podcast. So you all know how much I love you. Because otherwise, there's no way. Do you want to humble brag a little bit? You want to brag on yourself for the best birthday gift of all time?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I technically gifted the Switch 2 for your birthday.
That's true.
And was unable to find a physical copy of Pokopia. So
which would have been rendered useless without the Switch 2. So The Switch 2 is a Pokopia machine. We did not own a Switch 2, but I wanted Pokopia very badly. And my birthday was last week. And so Christian got me a Switch 2 so that I could play Pokopia. And play Pokopia I have.
Yeah. And then you'll be all set for the next Pokemon game as well.
That's true. I will be ready when that comes out. I did not get the last game that came out, so now that I have a Switch 2, I'm poised and ready. Although hopefully I will be at a point in Pokopia where I can take a break from playing it by then, because right now I'm in deep, y'all. I'm in so deep. Someone please pull me out.
I'm even further behind in the Pokemon games. I played a good bit of
Legends? Was it the Legends one you played a little
bit
bit of?
I played that, didn't finish it, and then I
Right.
also played some of the main game before that one, but didn't finish it either.
I caught you tinkering around with my Pokopia too. I caught you exploring a little bit, just dipping your toe in.
And that seems like a game that you don't technically finish. So
No, yeah, it's a very open-ended game. Yeah, for people who are really into like sandbox, town builder, like city sim, it's kind of like, Minecraft meets The Sims meets okay, perhaps a deep cut, but as I've been playing Pokopia, I promise I'm going to talk about animals here in a few minutes. But I needed to use my platform to talk about Pokopia because as I've been playing it, obviously I'm seeing the similarities to, Minecraft, Animal Crossing, things like that, where I'm like, okay, I see it. But the strongest resemblance to me is a game that perhaps very few other people besides me think about every single day, which is Viva Pinata, which was an Xbox game about 20 years ago that I was obsessed with as a kid.
Yeah. Notably made by Rare.
The that's
same
right.
Folks that made Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, which apparently that's all they have time for these days. Because no news on the sort of Viva Pinata a port. My kingdom for a PC port for Viva Pinata.
They did a ship skin, though, for Viva Pinata in the Sea of Thieves
Salt
game.
in the wound. That is an insult. That is insult to injury. They're dangling it in front. I want Viva Pinata back in my life so bad, but Pokopia feels like it's scratching that itch.
Very good.
So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Pokopia. Also, before we get into the main content of the episode, I did want to remind people that this Friday night, the 27th of March, I will be giving a little presentation on the zoology of dragons at the first returning Nerd Night Seattle. It is an event at Old Stove Brewing Company in the Ship Canal location in Seattle. They're going to be doing them more regularly from now on, and I get to be the first speaker. I get to bring Nerd Night back.
Nice.
Admission is free, but they do ask to please reserve a ticket. I will have a link to where you can do that in the episode description. So if you're in the Seattle area and you want to come hear me talk about dragons this Friday night, come check it out.
And for future listeners, this is talking about March 2026.
That's right. If you are if you're time traveling, then sorry, that has passed. But who knows? Check in on the Nerd Night schedule. Maybe, maybe I'll do another one if they would have me back. We'll see how this one goes. I'm excited. I've prepared a presentation that I think is going to be very, very fun. So, anyone in Seattle, come check it out. And without further ado, that brings us to this week's animal I'm very excited to talk about. And I think you're going to have fun too. I think you're going to like this one.
Okay.
This animal reminds me of you in some ways. Not necessarily like anything about it is particularly like you, but it has energy like you.
It's the lone wolf.
The lone wolf?
That's what it is.
The Sigma? The Sigma Giga Chad?
What else could it be?
Okay, Christian. Sure. This week I'll be talking about the coelacanth.
Oh, okay.
I think about them so often. I really love them. And they're an animal that just like every time I see video or pictures of them, I'm just filled with awe. And like I feel like they inspire a real sort of poetic feeling in me.
They make me think of Lost City of Atlantis.
It's giving Atlantis. It has Atlantis vibes.
Well, they're in that movie.
Oh, they're in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
They are in the background of like the main rich guy that does the whole thing. Like
I remember this now.
he has like an aquarium in his office. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good nod. There also is a coelacanth Pokemon, but I'm going to be talking about that towards the end of the episode. Okay. Don't worry. I'll be talking about the Pokemon. Coelacanth was submitted to us via email by Jody Ross. Thank you, Jody. When that email came through my inbox and I realized we hadn't done a coelacanth episode, it was like the heavens parted and like a ray of sunlight was like delivering this email to me. Like, here you go. This is the topic this week.
Didn't we talk a little bit about them in Another Fish?
Yes. They have come up before. I actually went back and repurposed some of my old notes. Okay. And the notes that I repurposed were from the lungfish.
That's what it was.
Yes. So I'll be talking about some similar stuff here, but those were years ago. Fresh stuff. I'm sure some people listening have long forgotten what we talked about in that episode. I'm getting my information from Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History, as well as a lot of sources that I'm going to be citing throughout the episode. Links to papers and articles and things like that I'm getting my information from during this episode will all be in the episode description. So go check those out if you want to read more. I have to start by talking about taxonomy because coelacanth taxonomy is very interesting.
Okay.
And that is because it tells two very, very interesting stories. One is a sort of zoomed in story about people. It's about scientific discovery and the people doing the science and what doing that science has looked like in history, which is very interesting. And it tells a different story about the evolution of life on Earth, including us, which just makes me very excited.
Oh, okay.
So two very interesting stories being told by coelacanth, like taxonomy and where they fall in the fish family tree. I want to start by talking about the story of discovery, because this is probably the thing most people know about coelacanth and the details of it. There are a lot of hidden little treasures in the details of the story of discovery of coelacanth that are just delicious little gems that I had a lot of fun discovering. What do you know about coelacanth? Do you know anything about coelacanth?
I know its main story of its discovery.
The sort of general like skeleton of the story.
Yeah, like, oh, we thought it was not here, but it turns out it is.
I was here the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so way back in the 19th century when paleontology is really sort of taking off, fossils of coelacanth had been discovered that dated back hundreds of millions of years. So the first named species was Coelacanthus granulatus, and that was dated back to the Permian period, which would have been between 250 and 300 million years ago. But coelacanth fossils appear as far back as the Devonian period, which was farther back than the Permian, which would have been over 400 million years ago. Have you ever heard of the Devonian period?
Only by name. And I couldn't tell you anything about it, though.
Oh, well, I wrote some things down. So for a little bit of context on the Devonian period, what's going on, what the world looks like in the Devonian period. This is not only before dinosaurs. Dinosaurs did not exist yet. This was before any vertebrates had made it onto land yet. So if you were to like get in a time machine and go back to the Devonian period, land would have basically just been Mostly rock, right? Not even that much dirt yet. So you're getting some plant life. You've got ferns and moss and things like that. You're starting to get bugs, starting to get arthropods, myriapods, so like millipedes, things like that, starting to colonize the land. Not a ton, but you're getting a little bit of life on like land. So at this point, the vast majority of life is still in the oceans.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. begging to be trod upon. So since these extremely ancient fossils didn't look anything like any known fish alive today, and no fossils were found after the end of the Cretaceous, there's this huge like gap. Like the coelacanth fossils just stop at the end of the Cretaceous. So a pretty natural conclusion is that they were one of the about 75% of the world's species that went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous.
How much time, I guess, sits between the end of the Cretaceous and modern time?
About 65 million years. Okay. This is the big one. That's the asteroid one, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Okay.
So the assumption is, okay, we stopped seeing coelacanth fossils after the end of the Cretaceous. They must have just gone with the dinosaurs. Like, most things went extinct at that time. But it's a huge mass extinction. So they're like, coelacanth was probably one of those.
But also, I guess, how many fossil areas are now above the ocean that were under the ocean 65 million years ago, right?
Well, yeah, a lot. Like we see that a lot, like mountains and deserts and stuff like that.
But that's on a larger scale, though, I imagine.
I mean, in paleontology, there will always be gaps.
Sure.
You will never not have gaps.
Yeah.
But this gap just happened to like start at the end of the Cretaceous.
Yeah.
And it was just a natural assumption that in the absence of any evidence to the contrary, they're just like, well, seems most likely that they just went extinct with the dinosaurs.
I guess I'm just wondering if there's an explanation for the gap in the fossil record.
Fossil record be like that.
Just
It's just like that. I mean, it's the idea of a missing link, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be something we don't have.
Yeah.
Like fossilization is so rare, like such a rare phenomenon that like we're just not going to have fossils. There just probably aren't fossils like of the vast majority of things that have ever lived on Earth. So we just got to make do with what we have and can find. So that's where coelacanth is at until December of 1938, when fishing trawler captain Hendrik Goosen pulls up his nets off the coast of South Africa and plops down onto the deck a fish he has never seen before. It is 5 feet long, massive, thick, armored scales. They're deep blue with these white spots and these fins that look an awful lot like legs and a big, thick tail, like meaty. This is a chunky boy. And he has never seen anything like it. He has no idea what this fish is. So he calls up Marjorie Courtney Latimer, who is the curator of the East London Museum. East London is in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
It is a city in South Africa. So when I'm going to mention East London a few more times, just know that is in South Africa.
Okay.
All this is happening in South Africa. So she comes over to the dock. She takes one look at this fish and she goes, I have no idea what this is.
Oh.
She does not know, but she knows it's something. Like, she's like, wow, this is really weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird that she doesn't know what it is because she's like, I should know. Like, it's so unlike most other fish that she's like, what? So she takes a description of it. She actually takes a sketch of it. Like, she does a drawing of it.
Right.
And then she tries really, really hard to preserve it as best she can. So remember, this is South Africa in the 1930s. Refrigeration is not big at the time.
Yeah.
Like, people don't have like fridges in their house at this time. So like to have something be put on ice or have something be refrigerated, you had to like have access to a refrigerating like facility, basically.
Right.
There's only a couple of refrigerator facilities in town, and one of them is a morgue. So they're like, we're not going to take your giant rotting fish. So neither of the refrigeration facilities in town will take the fish.
Okay.
Because it's stinky and gross. They don't want to take her big weird fish. So she's like, all right, I guess we'll do our best. So she ends up wrapping it up in newspaper and bed sheets and carrying it to a taxidermist.
Oh.
And the taxidermist is able to kind of do his best and like stuffs it. So Marjorie Courtney Latimer writes to ichthyologist J.L.B. Smith at Rhodes University. He clocks it as this ancient, thought-to-be extinct taxon. Remember, at this time, since they were believed to be this like long extinct fish group, think of how many extinct fish taxons you know about.
Right.
That's very obscure knowledge, right? Like, it's not likely that the average person would just like recognize it immediately. But he sees it. He, knows his sort of extinct fishes well enough to recognize it. He's like, oh my God, this looks like coelacanth, which is really weird. He arrives in East London 2 months later. He looks at the taxidermied specimen and confirms that this is coelacanth. Not only is it coelacanth, but it is pretty darn similar to those ancient fossils.
Okay.
So like, not only is this coelacanth still alive, but it still looks nearly exactly like they used to in the fossils, which is doubly bizarre.
Now, do they still classify as the same species?
Not the same species, no. But in the same, like, clade, basically.
Okay.
So they definitely have adapted over time, but, like, way less than you might expect.
Right.
So I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but basically he's like, oh my gosh, coelacanth has been here the whole time. And this whole time we thought they were all extinct and that they went extinct millions of years ago. Surprise! We found one! It's basically like finding a velociraptor.
Yeah.
It's like if you were like walking through the woods and a velociraptor ran up to you and you were like, oh, okay. Right? Like,
sure.
That's how it felt. Like, oh, okay, this thing that has just been generally accepted knowledge that it went extinct millions of years ago, but no, it's right here.
And this kind of story had been explored in science fiction and stuff by this point, I think.
I can't think of any specific examples, but maybe Journey to the Center of the Earth, maybe?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That was a Jules Verne bit that had dinosaurs in it, I'm pretty sure. Where the idea was that they went to this, like, underground, like, they went far enough under the earth that, like, there was this cavernous biome that was full of dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah.
I read it.
Yeah?
In high school. 1864.
Oh.
So, yeah, that would have been out for a long time by this point.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense that probably would have come out around the time when, like, paleontology was having a big boom.
So that was probably a fun story.
Yeah, it feels like out of science fiction, right? Like, this thing we thought was extinct for millions of years actually was right here the whole time, right? And there's actually a word for this, the phenomenon of thinking that a species, or in this case, a whole entire group of species, is extinct, and then later finding them living is called a Lazarus taxon. Have you ever heard of this happening before? It's happened actually quite a few times. It's just not always like the most exciting ones.
I became aware of the Lazarus idea and concept, not from the Bible, from which it originates, but through Mass Effect.
Reset the counter. Days since Mass Effect reference.
Because in the second game, they have to bring back a main character, and the project that did that was called Project Lazarus.
This is extremely common. Like using the name Lazarus to refer to like resurrection of some kind. That's like, it's probably one of the most like common everyday like biblical allusions. Yeah. So Lazarus taxon is like is something that is thought to have long been extinct, but then was rediscovered.
Right.
Examples that come to mind for me are the bush dog in Brazil, which had been discovered as fossils before scientists ever saw them in the wild. But then sometimes this will happen where an animal that is already known to science is thought to go extinct, and then like a long time later they find another one. Like there's one in New Zealand. It's a little bird. It's a swamp hen. It's called takahe, I think is what it's called. It's really, really cute. It's a very orbular bird. But it was one of those things where like they thought it went extinct, and then like a few decades later they found some.
Yeah. And I think there's a group of people hoping that the thylacine has a similar...
It's holding out hope. It's the thylacine, it's the ivory-billed woodpecker that every bird watcher on eBird swears that they saw in their backyard. And then, of course, there's like this sort of fringe group of like conspiracy theorist adjacent people who swear up and down that Megalodon is still out there.
I was going to make a joke
It's
earlier.
very Ancient Aliens kind of crowd that's like the Megalodon sort of torch holders.
Are you saying Jason Statham lied to me?
Yes. To you personally. He called you. He said, Christian, I know what you said on your podcast, but I looked Megalodon in the eyes.
I still think they should call that movie Chomp.
Come to Chomp 2. Chomp 2 in theaters. And also, the genus name Latimeria comes from the name of Marjorie Courtney Latimer. There's a couple of more interesting stories of coelacanth rediscovery. One is 14 years later in 1952. Because remember, the first specimen that they got, they couldn't preserve it. They couldn't freeze it. They had to just taxidermy it, which meant they had to get rid of all the organs.
Yeah.
Which those organs are pretty important in like fish taxonomy, in any kind of taxonomy, right? If you're going to try to figure out like where something falls on the family tree, you kind of need to look at its inner workings to see like, oh, what parts does it have? What does it not have? What does it most closely resemble? And they had to toss all those out.
Did they not have a camera?
I mean, not like a good one on hand. There's photos, I know, of Latimer with the coelacanth, but I think it was stuffed by the point they got a camera on it.
Oh, okay.
Certainly not like super high grade.
Yeah.
She had to do a drawing. She had to send a drawing of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, they for sure had photography at this point.
Yeah, but it was not like on hand. Christian, they were struggling to find a fridge. I need you to. They didn't have iNaturalist, Christian.
Why didn't they just use DoorDash?
Just DoorDash it. I don't understand the issue. You know what? They should have just looked on Wikipedia and they would have seen that coelacanth was they would have had it. They should have just checked Wikipedia. Okay, so obviously scientists want more coelacanth specimens. They're like, please go find us more. We know they're out there now. So they kind of set people to the task. Like, please bring us more coelacanth.
This always goes great.
Yeah. So 14 years later, a second coelacanth specimen is caught on the island of Anjouan, which is in Comoros, which is a sort of island archipelago off of the southeastern coast of Africa. So the fisherman who catches it sends a message to J.L.B. Smith, the same ichthyologist from before. He's in South Africa. When he gets to South Africa and receives this message for him about this fish, it is Christmas Eve.
Oh.
And so he's like, I'm there. So the next day, Christmas Day, he needs to go to Comoros to get eyes on the internal organs of a fresh coelacanth. The clock is ticking. He's got to go. The Knysna Museum website, where I got a lot of this information from this story, they say there were no scheduled flights between South Africa and the Comoros in those days, and Professor Smith could not find a charter plane. So on Christmas Day, desperate not to lose the opportunity, he phoned the Prime Minister of South Africa, D.F. Milan, and convinced him to send a military Dakota to fly him to collect the fish and bring it to his lab for dissection. Surprisingly, perhaps the Prime Minister agreed. So they send him on a military flight.
Yeah. Like,
get this man to this island for this fish. Get him out there now. It's a matter of national security.
They don't have anything better going on in the military in the 1930s.
I guess it's Christmas. No, so by now it's 1952.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So also from the website, but the website was quoting from a book called A Fish Caught in Time by Samantha Weinberg. She writes, one of the officers in Durban called a government official in Lourenço Marques, which is the capital of Mozambique, which is now called Maputo, but at the time it was called Lourenço Marques. And also, to understand a little bit of the geography here, South Africa is positioned in such a way where in order to fly directly to Comoros, you have to fly over Mozambique. So Mozambique is in the way. They need to fly this military plane over almost all of Mozambique to get it straight up to Comoros. So this government official in Mozambique calls them at 2 a.m. on the day of the flight. Roger, said the Lourenço Marques man, and what is the mission of this flight? Durban says, to get a fish. The official says, have I heard you right? A fish. F-I-S-H. Fish. Durban says, yes, a fish. Lourenço Marques says, you mean a thing with scales? Durban says, Roger. Lourenço Marques says, do you really think our government is going to believe that? You must think our guys are stupid. Can't you think of a better story for why you want to cross our territory in a military plane?
Right.
But I guess they did give permission because Professor Smith landed on Anjouan on December 28th of 1952. And they got it. They flew the fish back on the military plane. So that is, I don't know if it's the only fish that's ever received a military escort, but that list must be short.
I mean, at that point, it's a fish corpse, right?
So it's really like a fish hearse. Lots more African coelacanth specimens were found in the decades that followed. And then in 1997, a marine biologist named Dr. Mark Erdman was on his honeymoon in Indonesia. So this is 1997, like 60-ish years after coelacanth is rediscovered. He's walking through a fish market in Indonesia with his newlywed wife. And he sees a coelacanth for sale at the fish market in Indonesia. And he's like, excuse me, what is this doing here? What on earth? Bro is currently on his honeymoon. So he is locked in still, but not so locked in that he can't take a quick little look-see at this fish. So he stops, he takes a few pictures, he asks the fisherman a little bit about like, hey, like, where'd you find this? And the fisherman is basically like, oh yeah, we catch these sometimes. And he just like takes some pictures. He's like, wow, that's crazy that they found a coelacanth out there. But he also knows enough that like he knows they were rediscovered not too long ago. He's like, wow, that's like, I thought they were over in Africa, but okay, sure, I guess. He's busy. He's on his honeymoon. He's trying not to, I'm sure his wife is like, excuse me, wrap this up. Okay, we're not here to work. So he just kind of goes on about his business. He takes some pictures and moves on. He goes home and gets back to work at UC Berkeley. He looks back through his honeymoon photos and notices that the coelacanth he took pictures of is noticeably very different from the coelacanths found in Africa. Oh. It is brown. It is not blue. It's also, I think, a bit smaller. So he's like, oh, geez. So he goes back to Indonesia 2 months later. So he like immediately books it back out. He tracks down a fisherman named Om Lame Sonatham who recognized the fish and said that he caught them sometimes. They called them Raja Laut, which means king of the sea. So this marine biologist kind of monitors what they catch for a while. And in July of 1998, they catch another coelacanth in a gill net. The coelacanth was injured, but they towed it in their boat. So they didn't like fully bring it on board. They like towed it to try to keep it like alive for a little bit longer and photograph it in shallow water. And then they get it on ice and donate it to the Indonesian Institute of Science. And in 1999, they publish a paper concluding that the Indonesian coelacanth was its own separate species.
All right.
So now we have gone up to 2 species of coelacanth alive and thriving after having thought that the entire class of fish had gone extinct for like millions of years ago. Is that not the wildest thing? Can you imagine being that guy?
Well, when you were explaining the African one, I was thinking like, I'm sure the fishermen in that area had been catching them for a long time and just didn't think anything of it.
Hey there, it's me editing this episode. Christian was totally right about this, and in retrospect, I don't think we went into it enough while we were recording, so I wanted to come back and give some more detail because I think it is a really important part of the story. So in both the African and Indonesian coelacanth species, local fishermen had been catching coelacanths regularly enough that they had their own names for them. So in Comoros, they called them gombesa, and as I mentioned in Indonesia, they called them Raja Laut. The Natural History Museum of London reports that in Comoros, quote, 2 to 3 had been caught each year when night fishing. So the rediscovery of coelacanth is really only a rediscovery to Western science, because the only reason they were thought to be extinct in the first place was because of that disconnect between academic science and knowledge from the experience of local fishermen who had been familiar with them for a long time already. Which is really just another way that the belief of the coelacanth extinction was purely a perceptual error, resulting from both assumptions based on that gap in the fossil record I talked about earlier, and also not exchanging information with or really listening to local communities. It is very exciting that institutionalized science did eventually catch up. I just wanted to highlight that, yeah, they were pretty late to the party on this one. Okay, back to the episode. Now, as I mentioned this, there's another side of like the sort of story that the coelacanth taxonomy tells, which is that both the West Indian and the Indonesian coelacanth are currently the only known species in the coelacanth family and the only known species in the class Actinistia. So to put that into perspective, they are the only members of an entire class. Mm-hmm. Mammals are a class. So it would be if, like, humans and chimpanzees were the only mammals.
Right,
that is what that would be like. Huh. Like, they are so distant from every other living animal, really, that they are just, like, they're incredibly unique. But not only are they a very unique class, but I think they represent an extremely interesting era of evolution because they are lobe-finned fish. Mm-hmm. And the fancy word for this is sarcopterygian. The first ever vertebrates, meaning animals that have a backbone, so like us, for example, were fish. We all came from fish, which means that all of the tetrapods, which are things with 4 limbs, right? So mammals, reptiles, birds, amphibians, things that have that basic sort of 4-limbed body plan, we all had to develop this 4-limbed body plan from a fish-shaped starter kit.
Right.
Which is quite different. So as you can imagine, that couldn't exactly happen overnight. And lobe-finned fish represent that sort of early phase of transition from fish to tetrapod.
Right.
Because they still have fins, but instead of the rays being sort of attached directly to the body, there's this stalk in between them. It has a bone. It's a bone that later becomes analogous to like the humerus. In evolution, it goes on to become the humerus.
Right.
Right. But there's this sort of bony, fleshy limb that separates the rays of the fin from the rest of the body. So it puts this extra little step in between body and rays of the fin. So over hundreds and hundreds of millions of years, the lobes of the fins grow longer. Eventually you get something like tiktaalik, where the lobes are long enough to actually hoist the body up outside of the water onto land. And then the rays of the fins become separated into fingers and toes, right? Like the membrane webbing the rays of the fin together recedes back enough that they become differentiated into actual like digits, right? You get your fingers and toes from the rays of a fin. So they really represent the beginning of the shift from aquatic to terrestrial life in a very visible way, right? A lot of these adaptations are things that are going on internally, right? Inside of the body, right? The ways that the lungs are, the ways that like certain muscles and bones attach to each other, like all that is changing and adapting too, but that's all inside the body. These are things you can look at them and like see it happening. And you can look at coelacanth and see that it has these much more limb-like fins than almost any other like fish in the world, aside from lungfish, which are also lobe-finned fish. But I would say probably more people know about coelacanth than know about lungfish. Coelacanth had the PR boost of of being dormant for quite some time and then having a big discovery. Doesn't it always make more of an impression to make like a huge entrance?
Yeah.
That's why artists keep like, it's Miyazaki when he keeps saying he's retiring and then being like, I'm never making another movie again. And then coming out of retirement every 3 years. You're like, okay, Miyazaki-san, I'm sure this time will be different, right? You can also see this transition in the way that coelacanth swims because the fins alternate. They do the sort of left, right.
Like a doggy paddle.
It looks like a doggy paddle or like walking almost. Yeah. And in other lobe-finned fish, that did later go on to become crawling or walking or something like that. So they look like they're just suspended in that in-between state between aquatic and terrestrial, even though for them, it's not in between, right? Like, that way was fine for them. They didn't need to go any further than that. That was their end game. Yeah. They're like, that's fine. Our ancestors just like kept going. And I do want to make the point here that like that is not to say that they are our ancestors.
Right. No.
We did not descend from coelacanth. Coelacanth was already different from us. Their ancestors had already diverged from ours long before. It's just that coelacanth much more closely resembles our common ancestor than we do. Like retains a lot more of those basal traits than we do. So our common ancestor would have looked a lot more like coelacanth than like us. Coelacanth and lungfish are the only lobe-finned fish that are not tetrapods that are still alive. All the rest of them went extinct.
Right.
Which is very interesting because I'm like, what was so niche about that? Like you either became tetrapods or you died. Anatomically modern coelacanths, meaning coelacanths with the same general body plan as the ones alive today, appear in the fossil record as far back as the early Devonian, which would have been 410 million years ago. So they've been, of course, they're not exactly the same. They have adapted. They have changed a good bit here and there, but they have the same basic body layout. Whereas, like, if you were to look at our ancestor 400 million years ago, it would be unrecognizable, right? Like completely different. Whereas they look pretty similar to what their very distant ancestors would have looked like. So this means that coelacanth thugged out multiple mass extinctions, including the Permian Triassic, which was actually the biggest one in Earth's history, which was not the big asteroid one.
Right.
Big asteroid one was pretty big, but there was a bigger one way before that. The end Permian extinction event took out up to 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species. I mean, like, obviously everything alive today, obviously all of our ancestors survived that, right? If they didn't, we wouldn't be here. Like, everyone alive today
because it
descended from something that survived.
Because it wasn't like gotta start back with enzymes, I guess.
Yeah, you don't get to start over. Yeah, you don't get to start from scratch on that one. Like, we're all here because some ancestor of ours survived, but their ancestor that survived did it without changing very much about their body. Whereas our ancestors would have had to survive that by, like, adapting and changing very much. Like, we look nothing like our ancestors from that long ago, whereas coelacanth looks pretty much the same.
I can't believe I'm not asteroid proof.
It's our one weakness. My one weakness is that if you hit me with a 6-mile wide asteroid, I do tend to die. Other than that, though,
I do jest, of course.
What, you aren't asteroid? You are asteroid proof?
Our ancestors didn't shrug off an asteroid. They were just far enough away from the asteroid and survived the climate change.
Yeah. I mean, coelacanth was probably just deep enough underwater that they were like, oh, that's weird. Anyway, there's also, I want to recommend a really, really good animated short film on this. It's animated in like this sort of like papercraft stop motion style. It's really, really beautiful. It's called Animated Life, The Living Fossil Fish by HHMI Bio Interactive Video. It's a really, really good video. It's really, really beautiful. It captures a lot of that like mystical, ancient feeling of like coelacanth in the Devonian period, and like that feeling you get of just like, oh wow, this is what life would have looked like 400 million years ago. Like, it feels like looking into the distant past.
Neat.
And I know there's a lot of like science people don't like it when you use the word living fossil, because they don't like that it like implies that they haven't changed at all or that they're exactly the same. And like, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that like it gives you that feeling of looking into the past, right? Of like, this is what life would have looked like millions and millions of years ago. That's what that means. To me. I know a lot of people don't use it that way, but so today, coelacanth can be found in underwater lava caves in the Western Indian Ocean, particularly around the coasts of southern and eastern Africa. The Indonesian coelacanth can be found in Indonesia, and they can grow up to 6.5 feet long.
That's big.
And around 200 pounds. Oh, that is 2 meters and 90 kilograms for metric listeners. So it does give more credence to the megalodon thing. The idea that like there was a 6.5 foot long fish drifting around down there that we just had no record of. Sure. No fossil record of, right? It does give a little bit more credence to the megalodon thing, that like, how do you miss a 6 foot long, 200 pound fish? Is that Finley?
It's a megalodon.
Yeah. So
it's out there.
No. Yeah. That is definitely not what I walked out of the room saying.
I remember it differently.
I think you're retconning. Are you gaslighting me into believing in Megalodon? I wonder how how many opinions you've just like retconned me into thinking I believe in. Like, you were just telling me.
I'm gonna try this for dinner tomorrow.
You're just telling me how much you want hot dogs for dinner.
Gumbo, you said. Yeah. Extra spicy, you insisted.
To shreds, you say. So that is the segment that I wanted to dedicate to the ghost of Coelacanth past, I suppose. The Coelacanth's past and its history. Let's take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network, and then we'll get into our ratings for the Coelacanth of today.
Max Fun Meetup Day is on Thursday, April 23rd. Max Funsters from all over are getting together to hang out and celebrate their favorite podcasts. Want to go and meet some friends who like similar stuff and care about the same things as you? Head to MaximumFun.org/meetup to see where and when your local meetup is. Don't see one nearby? Host your own and make some new pals. All you need to do is pick a place that can hold a small group. A bar, cafe, park, library, wherever. Then fill out the form at MaximumFun.org/meetup. We'll add you to the page and help get the word out. So go to MaximumFun.org/meetup and maybe we'll see you on April 23rd.
Hello, this is Alden Ford.
And Mujan Zulfagari.
Two of the creators of Mission to Zix, your favorite improvised, obsessively sound-designed sci-fi sitcom here on the Max Fun Network. And the news is... We're back!
With an all-new miniseries set in the Zix universe, The Young Old Durf Chronicles.
Yeah.
Will Durf find his own killer before it's too late?
Ooh.
To find out how that question could possibly make sense, well, you just have to tune in.
Yeah, and as always, it's ambitious and labor-intensive to, frankly, absurd degree.
Indeed.
So, if you are looking for a little break from your own galaxy, we would love for you to check it out.
That's The Young Old Durf Chronicles. Search Mission to Zix, ZYXX, in your podcast app.
Or on MaximumFun.org.
Keep it fresh.
Are you getting distracted by D&D books? Do I have to take that away, Christian? I can give it back to you after class. So if this is anyone's first time listening to this podcast, the first category that we rate animals on is effectiveness. These are physical adaptations, things built into the animal's body that let them do a good job of the things that they're trying to do. I'm giving Coelacanth a 9 out of 10 for effectiveness. I think you don't go 400 million years largely unchanged for nothing.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about here is something that we've talked about with a few other large fish that live kind of deep in the water, and that is their longevity. So due to their very slow metabolism, they live for a very long time. They're estimated to have a lifespan between 80 and 100 years.
That's pretty long.
Yeah.
That's not, Greenland shark levels, but
it's not. It's getting there. You know, it's pretty long for a fish.
Yeah,
I mean, it's this brings me to something funny that I experienced. I saw this on YouTube more than anything else, which I think is just a function of the way that YouTube comments are.
Sure.
A lot of videos and stuff like that about Coelacanth, the title of the video or the caption or something in the video will refer to them. They'll say something like 400 million year old fish found off of this coast, or like 60 million year old fish found, because like maybe it's a fisherman pulled up a coelacanth, or like divers saw a coelacanth and got a video of it or something, and like they'll put it in the caption or in the title or something. They'll be like, it's a 60 million year old fish and we found it. And then someone in the comments will be like, wow, I had no idea fish could live that long. And like, not to clown on you, but like, it's not the fish. It's not this one specific individual fish that's 60 million years old. Like, I'm sorry. That would be really cool, but like, I don't think any living organism is known to have gotten that old. No. I want to say the oldest oldest single living organism is known to be like a few thousand years old, maybe. But they do live for a very long time. Now, in a lot of photos of coelacanth, their eyes will look like they're kind of glowing green. You know what I'm talking about? They have this sort of glassy look where they have this sort of like, they look like they're like glowing green.
Is it like the deer in a headlight kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's eye shine. It's from the tapetum lucidum, which we've talked about a few times on the show before. It's a reflective membrane of like sort of crystally cells on the back of the eye, and it lets light pass back through the retina one more time after being reflected. So the retina has basically another opportunity to grab photons of light as it passes through the retina again. Helps them see better in the dark, which is the same reason why your cat gets laser eyes in photos with the flash on, which is really fun to do also. So
not the demon that possesses it.
That's a separate issue. That's also part of it. Those actually don't show up in the photos. Yeah, you can only see them in their shadows. That's why the cat's always freaking out, like running after shadows and stuff like that. When our cat is like chasing nothing and just being the way that he is, we call it chasing ghosts.
His demon hides in his tail.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. He gets on his cat tree and chases his tail on the cat tree. It is so funny.
He loves it, I think.
I love it. I don't care how he feels about it. I love it. So another thing that they have that lets them detect things around them in a very low light environment is that they have an electrosensory rostral organ. So they have these little pits full of gel. I just like the way that was described. Little pits full of gel in their snouts that allow them to detect electrical signals that are given off by organisms that are moving around them in the water. This is very similar to the electroreceptors seen in other fish, including sharks. So it is a very similar structure to the ampullae of Lorenzini that sharks have. In coelacanth, they're hooked up a little bit differently. They're hooked up to like 3 little tubes, basically, whereas I think in sharks it's like way more. And so they're much more rudimentary, I think, than sharks, and they're much more localized. They're sort of focused on this small area, like directly in front of the coelacanth's nose. In observations of them in the wild, it seems like when there's a sort of disturbance, like an electrical signal or something. And when I say electrical signal, this can be from something like muscle movements, right? It can be like anything, any sort of like living thing that is like contracting muscles or moving around them is going to put out some sort of electrical signal. And any sort of movement like that, they would bite at it. Like it would just like a reflex. Like anything that twitched or moved around them, they would instinctively bite, like lunge and bite at it. It's very shark-like.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of interesting, like they have quite a few traits in common with sharks that have actually made some, at first some researchers even suggested that they were closer to sharks than to like other bony fish. But I think it's just that they retain a lot of the traits that sharks also retained that other fish lost.
Oh, so it wasn't a convergent evolution thing.
In this case, in the case of the electroreceptors, it seems like it's a basal thing.
Okay.
Because a lot of other fish have them too.
I wish we had them.
I do and I don't. You know what I mean? I feel like anything doing electrical things around me, that's not my business.
Yeah, we got a lot of electrics.
I have things to worry about already. I don't need... I think I would like fewer senses. I want less sensory input, actually. I don't want more.
I have ascended anxiety.
I want fewer inputs.
Anxiety Home Pro.
Anxiety. I have anxiety premium. Oh man, you get to like save your anxiety settings. You can use your anxiety on multiple devices. That's crazy. No, I want fewer means of perceiving the world, not more. But the also the fact that it kind of like goes off and makes them bite at things that are like just kind of immediately around their nose area. It reminds me a lot of the proximity alarm on our car.
Oh.
And how like when you get too close to things, it beeps.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't immediately think of that because you don't set off the proximity alarm all the time.
That's how I park.
I'm always parking way too close to things and hitting the curb.
Ooh.
That little... That's seasoning on the car, baby. That's how you season the tires.
I remind you about that.
So they also have these like really thick armored scales that are a type of scale called a cosmoid scale. This is apparently a special type of scale. I'm going to be honest with you. I read about this It didn't make any sense to me. I did not understand this fully. I'm sure that people who are like really interested in like animal dermal coverings probably find this interesting. I could not make heads or tails of it. I did not understand this at all. But the part that I did understand is that this type of scale is only seen in coelacanth and lungfish, and that's it. And in like extinct lobe-finned fish. So it's maybe a type of scale that evolved after they're split with the other fish. But then the tetrapods didn't need scales at all, so they lost them. But like it seems to be this type of scale left over from that old lineage that is just only seen in those lobe-finned fish now.
What was the term to describe the tiny parts of shark skin that I pronounced goofy one time?
Denticles?
Yes.
It's denticles, but you said denticles, which is really funny to me.
I was imagining just a blown up version of that.
No, it's kind of different from that because theirs are like much more flat and like broad. They have like really, really big scales. They're very chunky. They're very armor-like. Not great for mobility and flexibility, but great for like protection.
Is this a good spot for me to derail you for a minute?
Sure. Go for it.
You mentioned about this fish being found in fish markets and such.
Yeah.
Did you come across...
Has anyone eaten it?
Well, I mean, of course someone has if they're in a fish market.
That's
true.
I
want to know, how is it?
Oh, I didn't think to look that up. Let me see. Oh, what? Hold on. My app blocker is working against me. I found something good, but it's past my night-night time.
It's in Reddit, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that Spirited Away?
It is Spirited Away. Okay.
Uh-oh.
One of the animators of Spirited Away, Hiromasa Yonebayashi, finally shed some light about the food that has been intriguing viewers is actually coelacanth.
Huh.
Previously, it had been speculated that it was a stuffed lamb stomach or ba wan, a Taiwanese street food. Yonebayashi took to his Twitter account to put the mystery food to rest through a tweet he posted on September 19th. It was written on the storyboard that the soft, flabby food the dad eats is the stomach of a coelacanth.
Oh, that's not what I was expecting
also,
at all.
I don't know if their stomachs actually look like that. So this might be a made-up thing.
What? How? Why?
Hold on.
Surely.
Can you eat coelacanth? This has become a troubling recurring segment on this podcast. Okay, here's an article from something called eWash. I don't know what this website is. This is dubious. It says, eating coelacanths is highly discouraged due to the high levels of urea, oils, and other unpleasant substances found within their tissues.
Okay, so
making them potentially unsafe and unpalatable.
This is similar to the Greenland shark then.
But you'll recall, those were eaten.
Yeah.
There are meals, dishes made of Greenland sharks.
Technically palatable.
Yeah, technically palatable. It sounds like coelacanths were occasionally caught unintentionally. Their tough scales were used for purposes such as patching bicycle tires.
Oh.
And the taste was reportedly unpleasant.
Dang.
So it seems like no. I'm sure someone has, but it's not common and not recommended. Also not allowed.
It's not?
No. They are super, 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 super protected.
Oh.
Like super mega ultra protected.
Eat coelacanth, straight to jail.
Straight, believe it or not, right to jail. Right away. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought his name was Coelacanth, not coelacanth.
Actually, you misheard me. It's CeeLo Green. I've been talking about CeeLo Green this whole time.
Oh.
You were thinking of the right thing, right?
Totally.
CeeLo Green was thought to be extinct for 65 million years. Okay, so here's one thing that's interesting. Coelacanth are ovoviviparous, which means that their eggs hatch and develop inside the mother's body, and then she gives birth to live young, which are called pups.
Another shark similarity.
This is another shark. Not
So
all sharks. Yeah, right. Not all sharks are this way.
Yeah.
But true. There are quite a few sharks this way.
Huh.
Now, this ended up being pretty convenient to science because a coelacanth caught off the coast of Mozambique in 1991, once again, could not be frozen. They needed to do something to preserve it, so they decided to taxidermy it. And then when they cut it open to stuff it, they find 26 perfectly intact coelacanth pups.
Wow.
Inside. Each one in perfect condition.
Huh.
And since they're pups, they're small, they were able to jar them, basically.
Oh,
like preserve
like
them
the
in jars.
formaldehyde and such.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So those were perfectly preserved.
Nice.
Yeah. So
sad, but great
yeah,
for science.
I know. Sad that they, that the coelacanth didn't make it, but they got something out of it.
Yeah.
Now, a study examining African coelacanth embryos and recently born pups revealed that the embryos, so the ones that had not been born yet, were 5 years old.
Whoa.
And the pups who had been recently born were 9 years old.
Wow.
Suggesting that coelacanths must be gestating their pups, keeping them in their belly for around 5 years before birthing them.
Wow.
That is the longest known gestational period of any vertebrate.
Huh.
Any. And I'm going to go ahead and say invertebrate too, because I don't think there's any way y'all are going around. I don't think there's a crab alive who was gestating for 5 years.
Wait, are there invertebrates that gestate?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying 5 years is wild.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
That is wild work. Can you imagine if Finley had just been born and was at his current developmental age?
I don't know if I could survive that much suspense.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, you just kind of get used to it, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Although, now that I think of it, getting through those toddler years would have been way easier if he was still in there. And I couldn't hear him. That would be great. Maybe the coelacanths are onto something. Maybe you skip ahead to those more robust years, I guess.
Well, but the human body could not give birth to a 5-year developed human.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Especially not ours.
Oh my God. Our kid is so tall, you guys. He's huge. He's a kaiju at the daycare. He's so huge. He's a big kid. He's a full head taller than every other kid in his class.
It'll even out in high school.
Yeah, everyone catches up. So just to revisit the long lifespan thing I mentioned earlier, that same study also found that coelacanths are reaching sexual maturity surprisingly late in life. For males, they're reaching sexual maturity between 40 and 69 years.
Okay.
Come on.
No.
I know you want to.
You just have to go find where I said it in a different part and cut it in.
I will.
Nice.
And 58 to 66 years for females. So imagine not being even fully adult until you're in your 40s to 50s.
Is this being observed in the wild or captivity? Can they be?
They cannot be kept in captivity. They've never been kept in captivity, successfully. I mean, also there's not a ton of observation of them in the wild. This is based on aging specimens that we have.
Oh.
And seeing how old they were and whether they had reached maturity or not, whether their organs were mature enough at that point or not. But it seems like they're not reaching sexual maturity until they've been alive for half a century.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of why I actually docked them a point. This extremely slow life cycle has obviously been working great for them for 400 million years.
Yeah.
But humans are impacting marine habitats faster and faster. Things are changing very quickly. And this really slow life cycle means that their environment is changing faster than they are able to keep up with.
Right.
So one generation takes half a century, which kind of makes sense why they haven't evolved that much, right? Over the 400 million years. That's apparently only a handful of generations for these guys. So they're not able to adapt very quickly and respond to new environmental demands and pressures. It's been working out for them well. They've survived all of these mass extinctions being relatively unchanged, but there's this idea of the, what is it called? The anthropogenic mass extinction, I think, is that we are currently in a mass extinction event right now because of human activity and human impacts on the world. So is this going to be the one that does it? The last one trimmed them down quite a bit because I want to say it was in the Triassic or something, there were many coelacanth like families. There was like a wide variety. There was a diversity of coelacanths all over the world, right? But over these mass extinctions, those like branches of the family tree get pruned and pruned and pruned, and now there's only 2 known species left.
Right.
Is this going to be the one that does it? Is this going to be the one that finally takes out coelacanth because marine environments are just, so out of whack that it's too hard for them to keep up?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Would love to see them power through. The next category that we rate animals on is ingenuity, behaviors, ways the animal is navigating their world, solving problems that they face. This is going to be a quick one. I'm giving them a 3 out of 10. And now, in their defense, they're so rarely seen and so rarely observed in the wild. We don't know a ton about their normal behavior. We don't know a ton about what they're capable of. There's not a ton of like natural behavioral observations on them, but I will say the cavity in the head where the brain is supposed to go, their brain case, right? The space for the brain is like 99% full of fat.
Okay.
Their brain, their actual brain, is like a fraction of a percent of their brain case. It is comically small.
Okay.
Researchers suggest that this is to make room for an enlarged notochord. So a notochord are these like flexible hollow tubes that are the main structural support for invertebrates. This is like the embryo structural support. So an embryo, before they've like developed a spinal cord, they have a notochord. It's kind of a little bendy flexible tube that the embryo builds around. And then later on, as the embryo develops, it builds a spinal cord, gets rid of the notochord. They don't need it anymore. So it like replaces it with the vertebral column.
Yeah.
But in coelacanth, for some reason, they keep the notochord forever. And they really lean into it. They just don't develop those like bony vertebra. They keep this flexible notochord instead. And so the researchers kind of suggest that like in order to make room for this enlarged notochord, they have little itty bitty the teeniest, tiniest brain you ever saw in your life. They word it interestingly. This is a quote from the paper. They say, a discrepancy between the brain and the endocranial cavity exists in various fishes, but the magnitude of the mismatch observed in adult Latimeria is, to our knowledge, unequaled among living vertebrates. Head so empty. It's like the most flatteringly scientific way to say head empty.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing going on in there. Ain't a single thought. There's a little diagram that shows like how much of their brain cavity is brain, and it's like the tiniest little sliver. It's like pixels. It is brain. It's just like there's like no brain in there. Good for them, honestly. I wish I could. Wish that were me. And the only sort of behavior that I could find is that coelacanths in the wild have been observed in a headstand position. Which is not really how you expect a fish to be, right?
No.
So they're like pointing straight down.
Yeah.
Like when you're like at the pool.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, look what I can do. And then you do a headstand.
What is their diet?
I mean, they're eating little things. Little bits and bobs.
Okay.
Cliff Bars. Granola, No, like little smaller fish and things that float underneath them.
Okay.
So now the researchers have pointed out that their version of a swim bladder, which is a fatty organ, it's filled with like oil and fats instead of air, it makes them neutrally buoyant. And also the fact that most of their bone mass, which is going to be like the densest, heaviest part of the body, right? Their bone mass is sort of concentrated in their head and their tail, which gives them these two sort of centers of density with a sort of fulcrum in the middle.
Yeah.
And it makes their body, which is neutrally buoyant, sort of act like a seesaw almost.
Okay.
Where their fins are like super maneuverable, right? Because they have lobe fins. So just by positioning their fins like either more towards the front or more towards the back of their body, they can basically like treat their body like a seesaw. And like apply torque to sort of like tilt their body up and down with very minimal effort.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it just leads in them just kind of like pointing straight up and down in the water, which is a very funny mental image to me, because I feel like if I ever saw one doing that, I would for a second be like, am I oriented correctly?
Right.
Like, should I be?
Yeah.
I don't think you go that way. Now, finally, aesthetics, just how nice this animal is to look at. 10 out of 10. This has got to be like top 10 favorite fish. Top 5, perhaps.
Which one are you basing it off of?
The African one.
Okay.
The blue one with the white spots. The Indonesian one is lovely, too. But the African one is, it's so good.
Yeah.
You ever seen these bad boys?
I mean, in pictures, but...
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen like a specimen of one, like in a museum. I feel like I have, but I can't say where.
My mind
exactly.
keeps going back to Animal Crossing, but...
Oh, yeah, in Animal Crossing, you could catch them left and right.
Yeah.
And you could stick them in the aquarium, too. That was pretty cool.
Which was a lie, I guess. Can't stick them in an aquarium.
There were a lot of things. They had a great white shark in the aquarium in Animal Crossing, okay? Let's suspend a little disbelief, okay? Let's enjoy the fantasy world.
And my barrel fish and...
Barrel fish? What's it? Barrel eye. Your barrel eye fish. Yeah. Yeah, all the deep sea weirdos are all coming out to play.
You know, when I see the acronym ACNH, every time.
Assassin's Creed New Horizons?
Yes. Every time. It's been years.
That would be a good mashup. The blue ones with the white spots, look, they're evoking a few different like aesthetics for me that are all great. One of them is like a sky, like a starry sky, right? Like a night sky with like stars in it. Another aesthetic it kind of reminds me of is like chipped paint, which feels very appropriate to me because it has that like ancient, right, like relic of the past, which just fits so well with looking like, I don't know, like an ancient piece of pottery, like an artifact where like the paint has been chipped and worn away over the years, you know, like it looks old and it looks like banged up a little bit, you know, like it just looks appropriate for its sort of role as this like historically significant fish. The teeth are a nightmare. Ignore those. I'm just gonna. I simply pretend I do not see it.
I want to see.
Okay, you want to see it?
Is it like?
It's awful.
Bow mouth guitar shark type thing.
It's like this.
Oh.
It's bad. It's not my favorite. I cover my eyes for that part.
Okay, that's not so bad.
That's frankly none of my business. I don't. If I'm ever looking that closely at the mouth of a coelacanth, I'm somewhere I don't need to be. That's on me at that point. That's my bad. I shouldn't have been there. Conservation-wise, African coelacanths are listed as critically endangered, and Indonesian coelacanths are vulnerable. There are estimated to only be a few hundred individuals of each species currently in the world. A lot of that, I think, probably was the sort of like blitz for specimens in the, 20th century.
Right.
Where scientists basically were like, bring me this fish. Bring me this. Get me more of these. Kind of incentivizing a lot of like fishers to I would say fishers were not going out in search of them.
Right.
But they were certainly not, they were more likely to keep them, right, if they pulled them up.
Sure.
Because then they're like, oh, they wanted these, rather than just, oh, well, this is a weird fish I don't eat, and then just throwing it back, right?
Right.
And also there's this now this sort of angle of tourism for them, I guess, where like their big thing for like divers want to go down there and like take pictures and videos and stuff diving with them and stuff, which, I mean, I didn't see any evidence of poor fish etiquette, I guess,
right,
in the videos that I saw, but I'm sure there are out there. Like, I'm sure not everyone who goes out there is pure of heart. So as with any sort of marine fish, marine stewardship is really gonna, they live in these underground sort of like volcanic caves. And so they're kind of far removed from most human frequented like ecosystems, but still, as with anything in the ocean, right? Like anything that impacts one part of the ocean is going to affect all of the ocean. So be kind to your oceans if you want to support the coelacanth. And I just wanted to wrap up by talking about my favorite Pokemon, Relicanth.
Oh.
I don't know if I would call it my absolute favorite Pokemon. It's up there, though.
Okay.
It's one that I get the happiest when I see.
Is it rock water?
I think so. I think it is rock water. And interestingly, it is not a fossil Pokemon. Like, it is not one that you have to like go to a lab and get revived from a fossil.
Sure.
You catch it in the wild. In Gen 3, you had to catch it underwater, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's when they had a dive gimmick that I'm really excited. I think they're bringing the dive gimmick back this generation. I'm very excited. But in Gen 3, you could catch them underwater. They're useless. They're absolutely useless in the game, except I think you needed them to catch the Reggies. Like, you needed one in your party to catch the Reggies.
Yeah,
you remember?
Braille puzzles.
But in order to even get to the Braille puzzle, you had to have a Coelacanth and a Whalmer in your party.
Right.
But, like, they had to be in, like, the 1st and 6th position in your party. I don't know how any of us played this game.
I know how I did.
Oh, did you look it up on the internet?
No,
Or did you have a
I had the
strategy
actual
guide?
printed strategy guide.
You had a strategy guide?
Uh-huh.
I didn't, but my best friend did. And told me how to do everything. That was really the only reason to catch Coelacanth at all in that game, because other than that, Coelacanth, how are you gonna a late game catch with a ×4 weakness to grass? Are you joking? You don't stand a chance, my guy. I'm sorry, you're not going in the party. I do catch them every time I get a chance, though. Also, some of the Pokedex entries were like extremely. You can tell that, like, in some of these Pokemon that are based on these sort of like niche animals, you can tell that whoever's writing the Pokedex entries for these are just animal nerds that are just like only barely disguising their favorite little animal facts as like Pokedex entries. Because in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the Coelacanth entries, one of them said, thought to have gone extinct, Coelacanth was given a name that is a variation of the name of the person who discovered it. Which is like, that's just what happened in real life. There was no attempt made, even at like making it sound kind of Pokemon-y.
Right.
They just said the thing that happened in real life. And they were like, yeah, sure, that's what happened with Coelacanth. And then in Ultra Moon, I think it was, they say, this is the best Pokedex entry I've ever read. The reason it hasn't changed at all in 100 million years is that it's apparently already a perfect life form.
Okay, Shadow.
The ultimate life form. Shadow if he was a coelacanth. Which just really, I think, encapsulates how I feel about coelacanth.
Okay.
Like, I can see why they haven't changed. Never changed coelacanth. I hope you stay the same forever. 400 million more years. It makes me wish I could look ahead 400 million years into the future and see how different everything is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish I could look to see what like our descendants will look like in 400 million years and see like how different they'll be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that within the time frame that the sun will eat the planet? I don't remember.
I don't think so, but
probably not.
I don't know. That's not my business. That's a thing I've been doing where when like a science topic stresses me out too much, that's none of my business. That's frankly not my concern. That's not for me to know. It's just not for me. It's not about me. I don't need to know it.
My hot take.
Go ahead.
Let's
hear it.
If we survive long enough to be consumed by the sun, it will be an honor.
Wow. Bars.
And a surprise, to be sure.
And a surprise? I don't think there will be anything surprising about that.
No, like that we managed to survive that long.
To make it that far? I mean, hopefully we'll be long gone outside of this solar system by then, and we can just sort of watch it from afar. But for more on that, play Outer Wilds. And that's coelacanth. I had a great time learning about them. I hope that you had a great time hearing me learn about them.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, babe.
It's a great fish. I'm not kidding, like top 5 fish for me. Like one of my favorite fish. Perhaps my favorite fish. No, Leafy Sea Dragon is my favorite fish. But this is up there. It's on the fish Mount Fishmore for me.
I have a hard time putting a fish on that podium, but I can't see it in an aquarium, personally.
Selfish. You lack imagination. Maybe for me, the allure is not being able to see them in an aquarium. Like, I love not being able to see them in an aquarium. You know what I mean? I love that. It's the allure of the unknown. It's the uncontainable. Oh. That's how you make it 400 million years. Be uncontainable. That's the takeaway from the episode.
All right.
Well, thank you for listening to me talk about coelacanth. If you had a good time listening to us today, I would love it if you left behind some nice words for us and a review on your podcast app of choice. Like, pulling up the reviews always mildly terrifies me because I'm like, what if someone is going to tell me that I'm the worst person ever?
They would never.
And they didn't. Why Fry the Great, who wrote, I love your podcast. My favorites so far have been the Norway Lemming and the Pygmy Hippo episode. They make me laugh. I'm very happy that you make podcasts. Please continue to make funny ones.
I'll try.
I hope so. Hope we've had some giggles and laughs here today. If you want to come hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Blue Sky. Links to everything will be in the episode description. If you want to learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show, plus get access to our special monthly bonus episodes, head over to MaximumFun.org. And finally, we would like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now, back to Pokopia for me.
All right.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.